Hey guys, it's Crusty Old Crow. How you doing today? How's your Monday? My Monday is the same as any other day. Free and available to do Joe stuff, right? I'm retired. It's me, Crusty Old Crow, the retired Canadian vet, doing one of his, what do you call them? The Crow's Creative Custom Corner Creations, whatever, Kit Bash. What? No, Kit Bash begins with a K. I can't use Kit Bash. No. Characters, customs, creations, whatever, customs. It's just me working on this shadow tracker, like it probably says in the freaking title, right? And just talking about the more recent Joe news and theories and things like that. So that's all. There's my cue card that told me what I wanted to talk about. So I'm also going to tell you about a couple little problem solving techniques I used on using on this custom, and I pivoted on the shadow tracker, and I'm going to talk about what happened. Okay, so before I do all that, guys, I got to talk about that whole 350 contest really quick. Don't forget to do the like, share, subscribe. If you like watching me do customs, if you like picking up the little tips I picked up and me sharing them with you, showing you how I go about this stuff, definitely do that. If you like my figure reviews from the Tactical Perspective Toy review on G.I. Joe Classified, if you don't mind me rambling on and sometimes giving you maybe some good hint on some stuff from the veteran's perspective or just a retired clown's perspective, basically, soldier clown, yeah, sure. You do that. And the reason I say that is that algorithm is trying to match me up with more similar content liking people, the like-minded group that we are, that can come and join our Murder Crows, grow us to 350, where I can pick a winner. Well, sorry, I won't pick a winner. Our friend will pick a winner, and our friend Aaron will pick the winner, or help me pick the winner, and that person and I will get in touch with each other. I'll pick them out a figure I can get off the shelf here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. You know, what's based on my selection here in Canada, based what that winner has available to them. See what we can land on, give you a brand new figure. And I'm also going to do that custom additional figure based off what you guys entered, right? So whatever got you the win, I'm going to build it. Okay, whatever that takes to do. So that's the contest. So right now, I'm not building a figure for anyone but myself. My collections. That's all I'm doing, right? Because that contest, we're still a little ways out, and that's good. I enjoy doing this stuff. I left you guys I think I had just finished base coating and dry brushing the torso of this gray. I did that because of watching was it Mythic Customs, and he had suggested this paint, Krylon 2-in-1 black with a gray dry brush as a good start point for a lot of darker type figures. And I was like, yep, cool. Shadow Tracker is going to be that darker type figure. I'm going to use this approach, and I employed it. I'm going to turn down. No. Wait, is this a good song or a bad song coming up? Come on, it's casual paint day. I can do this, right? You don't mind me looking at my tunes? No. Anyway, so yeah, I've applied that technique to it. So after that, I went away for the weekend. Well, I didn't go away. It's just I was hanging out with my buddies that were down in town for the weekend, having a good time, playing games and stuff. And so I didn't touch this figure. And it sat there being just gray and in pieces. And quite honestly, while I had started a video about doing a custom about Shadow Tracker, I hadn't actually finished my concept sketches of him yet, because I was starting to realize this is one of the characters where I was slapping a bunch of kit together, thinking it was going to be justifiable, but I ran into a problem. I had run out of bare arms. I don't think I had a whole lot that were going to be compatible with this torso. That had any bare flesh on them at all, I should say. No rolled up sleeves, no nothing. And when I look at images of Shadow Tracker, because he is a post 94 figure, meaning I've never seen him before I started collecting classified and he came out that way, then I had to look at him. He's usually sleeveless. Like you can see, he's got the African American flesh arms, tattoos, all this other stuff. Like, and he is a tribal, he is a primal hunter. And I had nothing to reflect that. All I had was Storm Shadow arms, left over from my kit bash on Dark Night Force nunchuck, right? But I really wanted to use these because the armor plating put a restriction on their range of motion. And that was good because I was already going to add this McFarlane jacket I pulled off Pirates of the Caribbean figure. And I had already had this planned out. And there was already going to be a bit of a restriction to that motion where it was affected by the Storm Shadow Snake Eyes Origins arm. So that was working out. Problem was, it's long sleeve. And I'm like, okay, well, why long sleeve? I kind of don't have an idea for this. And then it occurred to me what I had done and never put the two together. I've ordered the pieces and have every intention, once they arrive, of putting together my version 2. Sorry, I'm going to turn the music right off. Version 2 of Stalker Arctic Commando version, where he comes with the kayak and the saw and all that. I'm going to do that. Based on what I've ordered from our friend Loki Wartooth. Model Misfits 1138. Go check out his site if you haven't. I've got another order coming from him based off. I was really happy with what he provided me with the parts. Like, you know, we had worked out a deal for that, and I was like, yeah, man, I want to do something together. So we did this together. Me and him worked together. But I'd also ordered Snow Job because I was fed up being a Canadian without Snow Job while I'm snowed in here on the weekends. So I got off my ass, went through Hasbro Pulse, ordered him and Jody Shooter. So now I have these Arctic figures coming that I want. But what do I have from Cobra? I have the Arctic Bat. I had nothing to go with it. So Shadow Tracker is going to be an Arctic version of Shadow Tracker. And that all of a sudden, that all made sense. Why he would have long sleeve. Why the trench coat, per se. Right? What I do with this is probably going to be very simple. But now it's more explainable because he's in a colder environment. But I've decided to take that gray and kind of work it more lighter with mixes of dark than going for the darker character. And I'm doing that because now I'm going to do an Arctic cam. I'm actually going to try and do 2 Arctic cams on this. I'm going to try and do a different one for the top than the one I do for the bottom, because the bottom I am using more mobile loose pants provided by the nunchuck figure. That I had leftover legs for that because, again, might as well pull them down. It's the second reference to him, and you know me. I gotta plug something somewhere, right? Yeah. So again, I used the Snake Eyes Origin Storm Shadow legs for my Night Forest nunchuck conversion, right? So if you guys wondered, if you're new to the channel and you're like, why would he go and do that to a nunchuck figure? It was because my nunchuck figure was flawed and defective and came with 2 left feet. And I couldn't stop obsessing over that. To me, if it's defective, now that I'm doing conversions, that's easy bait, and I'll just replace nunchuck later. And I can get them actually pretty cheap out here. It's just not on the priority list. So doing a kit bash, having leftover nunchuck parts left me with these legs where the feet, I had 2 legs, but the foot part I didn't have a solution for. Till much later into this customs, like when I started building up other figure parts and things like that, and I got into doing the customization, now I had the solution for those legs. I found out that if I were to take the legs from the Merrick figure I had left over from Star Wars Black Series, the Rogue One pilot, those legs popped off at the exact same point, or those shins, I should say, pop off. The shin and boot assemblies pop off the same point as a classified one. Right there, okay? Yeah, they're a little narrower than what I wanted. I didn't want this piece. I was after the actual foot. So I got a left and right foot for that piece. And as you can see, it all worked out because the mount is the same peg diameter to keep it snug in there. Where it is a little loose is in side sway. I can do side sway very easily. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing yet, right? Once I get it painted up, that's great. But once I have this posed on my shelf, is this going to make it impossible to stand him? I don't think it will. Will it make him possible to put him in different poses? I think it might. I think it's going to be an enabler more than a than a problem. So, you know, like I said, the Bob Ross happy little cloud effect. I had a mistake, but let's turn it into something else. So what you see me working on right now, and you know what, I'm going to drop the camera down a little bit so you guys can at least see what I'm doing while I'm talking and not just watch my head going, yeah, I'm right. You guys watch me, the techniques I'm using to approach this cam, you'll see that going on. And I'll just kind of chat at you with some concepts and ideas that I was working with to help get it going once the brainstorming started on this. It didn't really finish until, well, about last night. No, today, really. This morning, I finally finished. So, looking at Shadow Tracker, like I said, I mentioned the like, share, subscribe. They do that. If you didn't do it, stop. I won't start. Okay, one of you did it, so I'll keep going. Anyways, the thing I liked about the concept I was working with was I love the idea of having some custom kit that makes sense, right? And one of the things I got when I got into buying the Marvel Legends series to do kit bashes with some of these guys, and you'll see them coming down the pipe very soon, I swear, was the Build-A-Fig concept. As you know, Marvel Legends has several sets where if you buy that set, the figure you get comes with an extra piece of another figure that you can use to build a mega figure. And it was a very popular concept, I guess, for the most part, because they keep doing it. And I have a supply of these things sitting around. And remember, I'm a big advocate of you never throw anything out, because eventually as a customizer or a dioramist, you'll use it. So I had all these. But what I got with one of them was actually a set of weapons that goes with the Build-A-Fig they were doing. It's the Akuma character from the Black Panther series. It's one of the Atlantean warriors, right? You could build a big one, I guess. I didn't care. It came with his arm, which wasn't that big of an arm, not very impressive. But it also came with two weapons, a long pike weapon and like this cleaver, all made of like, you know, whalebone, you have to assume, and shell, right? And then ordnance cloth. So I thought, what wonderful custom primal weapons to try and do a conversion with for Shadow Tracker. So these are them there. All right, so you have that long pike and you have that shell-like blade with those teeth. I considered trimming this down. I considered doing something physical to this to try and make it different. I might add something to this instead, because again, if you think about him being in the Arctic hunting, this begins to make sense as a good piece of kit. It's like the Inuit harpoon almost, right? And it goes in conjunction very well with something else I am adding to them. So there was that piece from the Marvel Legends, the Akuma add-on. I think it came with, was it Fury? It might have been Nick Fury. It might have been Everett Ross. One of those two. Great. It also came with this close combat cleaver-like attack, right? So again, I've primed it black, but it's very ordnate inside, and I'm going to deal with that a little bit. But again, a nice primal huntsman kind of, you know, Mayan almost weapon, right? And again, easily justified through bone and teeth and things like that. Goes kind of with that hunter concept and the way he works off of a lot of unconventional weapons of the age. He goes back to more the older time weapons. Order is better. You'll hear me say that a lot if you're new to the channel. A lot starting a couple of videos ago, I've started saying that. It's a joke, guys. As you know, I'm trying to see the perspective of the market for Joe from every age group, not necessarily what I grew up with and what I am dedicated to, which is the OG shit. When I've been working on characters, I've been trying to see what the other generation saw that made them want that character, because my instincts usually go, no, I don't want that. Look how creatively gross that character is. Way too bright, too much this, too much that. They went too far. right? I like the older stuff. But now I got fun going too far. Okay, so what else am I adding to Shadow Tracker that makes the spear justifiable? If you guys look, there is an iteration of Shadow Tracker. I'll call it up. They did, and there was some themes that were very important that I keep in Shadow Tracker. One, he's African American. There is absolutely no doubt. Two, I'm going to get back to the African American part, and then like that is the theme, right? So I wanted to make sure that I didn't paint him wrong by putting the wrong flesh tone around his neck. So I have been plugging this Catechin flesh as a ignorant old 50-year-old white guy who doesn't know how to mix browns to make the appropriate flesh color. This was designed to be African American flesh, and I went with it. And I'm glad I do, because it allows me to move on, because I'm colorblind and I don't mix a lot of paints very well. So when you Google Shadow Tracker, you're of course going to come across the classified one, sure, in the images. But I was having a look at ones like this. Like, this is what I mean by different kind of weapons arrays. Like, there's been different iterations, but if you look at constant themes, you've had the mask, you've had the dreadlocks, you've had the African American heritage, unconventional hunting stuff that he uses, right down to like what mask he wears. I'm not sure what the dead man's face is all about underneath the mask on the classified one. If you have a look, really, is he really hideously, or is that a third mask? I have no idea, and I don't care. I suspect it's a third mask. I hope it's a third mask. But I paid real attention to what I was seeing in. There was one particular image that I said, okay, I'm doing that. If you look carefully behind the bow, which I've taken away on my version, he's got a net. And I was like, hell yeah, mine's getting a net. The other constant with the Shadow Trackers, somewhere they've incorporated the black and the yellow. The yellow makes its way to the classified in the way of that mask, really. I think that's the only real nod to the bright color with the dark set. Besides, maybe, oh no, on his vest he's got a little patch of it. Like, they very subtly slid it in the classified figure, right? And I wanted just a bit more like nodding to the yellow, so I figured that's a good place for the yellow to show up, is on those arm pads. But where did that go? I now have a yellow net, right? I added the little weights to the bottom of it. It's already bound, but I'm going to probably dirty this up a little bit, maybe fray it up a little bit, make it not look as new as it looks, but that'll sit on his kit somewhere. But it's part of his character kit. He's supposed to, I read the file card on him on a different page, and it says that he's supposed to have an escape proof kind of netting that he throws on the guys. And I was like, well, that makes sense. I'm familiar with Kraven the Hunter from Marvel, and characters that use that. It is a very gladiator style pairing to have the pike and the net, right? So I thought, yeah, I'm doing that. But I also made a second net. I made a closed one and an open one, so you can have one in his hand ready to throw, and another one's hanging off his hip under that trench coat. So that was concepts I was working with there. So yeah, I need to make sure that the yellow stays there, that his heritage is there, and that there's camouflage there. He can have like kit and gear, but he can't have guns. He can have weapons, but we have to have fun with weapons. And I think I've ticked those boxes here. So I'm moving on to the winter camouflage, right? Yeah, so winter camouflage. For that, I've gone online and I've just looked at a lot of military pictures of what we use. You've seen me do that before when I talked about potential characters in the past, when I reviewed the 82 and 80s through 94 line. But just really quick, I'll show you the kind of images I was looking at and why the winter cam is going to be two types, okay? So in the military, as you know, the Crow did 25 years and a lot of it was recce, okay? And you You cam up to your environment the best you can. Okay, so with the military, Canada, US, we have different supply systems, but the premise is the same. We make sure we have more than enough white and green kit and arid kit, and we have the ability to intermix some of that when it makes sense. When you are in the wooded Arctic or the wooded winter environment, you know, it makes sense to have a lot of offset browns, greens, and whites working together, right? Depends on the time of year. That worked after a fresh snowfall. That might not work during a spring thaw, right? They might stand out a little bit more. Perhaps they need to go to switch over where the upper body is reflective of a spring thaw where the colors of the trees and taller grass are starting to come out, but there's still snow on the ground. Maybe with some greenery starting to poke its way through that time of year. It really kind of works like that for us. So we have a lot of kit to mix it. So when I was focusing on an Arctic shadow tracker, right, he's got to be ready to track them across not just tundra, but he's got to be ready to cross. You know, he's going to be tracking you best through the woods and things like that, better than most, right? So that was the intent. So I decided I'm going to do an upper body white woodland kind of cam to offset this dark jacket because I don't want to paint the jacket. It won't paint as well as it looks right now. I don't want to do anything to this jacket but complement it. So that's what I'm going to do. But so he'll have one type of cam on the upper body, and then he'll have a completely different type of cam on the lower body. Again, a winter woodland kind of cam. So I think that'll work for Shadow Tracker and get that on the way. Another thing I wanted to incorporate, and there was a reason for it, and we're going to see how it all ties together, and then I'm going to talk to you about Mad Marauders for a second, was left over the Storm Shadow sword mount. It's the same one we have with Helix. It's designed for these swords, which I will probably end up giving my Shadow Tracker. Why not? Give them a pair of traditional fighting swords because they're meant for that mount anyways, and I have more than a few swords, but these are the ones that fit beautifully in that mount. We see them with Helix. It's the same mount, same swords, but what it also really nicely does is where was that point? Right there. Yeah, right there. This mounts really well on it as well, right? It sits right between them snugly, no issues. So pop, it basically is a pop in. So I got to be careful how I do any converting to the spear that I don't lose that ability. Otherwise, I'll feel pretty dumb, right? And I'm used to feeling pretty dumb on YouTube. I'm not afraid of that with 200 and what is there? What do we got? 250. We're past 250 to 275. We're up there. We're up there now. We've been growing. It's great. Thank you so much, new subscribers, old subscribers. My faithful murder of crows, thank you. Yeah, I've made a fool of myself many a times in front of you guys. I could very well sabotage myself with this, having called the ball in another video, right? So that's what I'm progressing with today. What you'll see after this is as I incorporate this camouflage a little later today, I'll probably do a light wash over a lot of the areas to darken them up and then bring them up in a slight detail pop-up. The Mad Marauders, guys, there's a lot of mixed reception on what has been revealed with this new Mad Marauder line. And I kind of wanted to theorize a couple things off you, for one, because I've been talking about it on other guys' channels in the comments section, almost as a sounding board. And I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid a little bit here, because I heard something else today when I was looking into lore and history of these figures, whether something could be possible, and it actually very much is. So the Mad Marauder line comes out. Nobody knew it was really gonna get dropped that way. We all knew it was coming. The writing was on the wall with Barbecue and with contracts with Sergeant Slaughter for more figures. But the way it was brought to us was, I think I likened it to somebody dropping a fart as they got off the bus. It was like, oh, by the way, here's the Mad Marauders. And I think it was dropped that way, leaked out, and allowed to be leaked out without much hype, because I think they kind of knew what they had on their hands, something that was going to go over possibly cold. And it does appear to have done that to some level. There's a lot of guys that are hyped about it. I don't mind them. I like the fact they changed the colors. I think the colors make more sense in this era than the 80s colors being transposed into this era. But I can understand why people would take issue with them. They are just repaints and retooling of other kit. You get a different eagle with the Spirit repaint named Neville. Okay, that's not enough to drive you. You get a low light repaint. You get different kit. It's just not exciting to a lot of people. So it got me thinking, well, okay, but now we're getting into Sergeant Slaughter's extra characters. So what does this mean about the Renegades? How many extra figures did Sergeant Slaughter, the actual person, I don't know his name, Terry something, or I don't know, it's usually Terry something. Anyways, how many extra figures did he get a contract for through Hasbro to do? And if this was it, if he only got the one extra repaint, it was really just a repaint with some big boa kit added, then what's going to happen with the Renegades? Mercer, Taurus, and Red Bull. And what really I learned today, two things. One, who those guys were in relation to Sergeant Slaughter. They were based on other wrestlers. Okay. Mercer, I believe, was based off Dolph Lundgren, who was working within those circles. He wasn't a wrestler per se, but he was a man of that era who had friends in those eras, in those entertainment industry kind of things, right? But the Red Dog was based off Jimmy Superfly Snuka, apparently, which I thought was very interesting. And Torox was the Iron Sheik, who I also found out later went on to become Colonel Mustafa. Colonel Mustafa is the wrestling figure I picked up on sale at Toys R Us that I had committed to doing a Dr. Mindbender conversion out of. I thought maybe I would do a hokier or very different version of Mindbender based off that figure, because he looked so familiar to me, and that smile was just something that looked just menacingly Cobra-esque villain. And I was like, why did it look so familiar? I don't know who Colonel Mustafa was, but I knew who the hell the Iron Sheik was. And I kept saying, he looks just like the Iron Sheik. I thought this was a much younger, newer character. It wasn't. It was actually the Iron Sheik. So now I'm having a thought, do I stop working on Dr. Mindbender with this figure and do a Torox figure as he was originally based to do for the Marauders? Because, you know, he was based off Iron Sheik. I thought that was a wonderful reason to give me pause. But what I also found out is later in the line, I don't know if it was the comics or the toys, like in the 2000s that did it, Sergeant Slaughter's Renegades did eventually just become Sergeant Slaughter's Marauders themselves, right? And they joined that team. So what I'm getting at is I'm wondering if the follow-up to these Marauder 2-pack and the new Sergeant Slaughter might be that we also get Taurus Red Dog and a singular Mercer figure, as well as the Footloose and the other Mutt, whatever else is missing from that particular team. That now gets put on the table as a possible approach that Hasbro could do, just based off of the negative line that's already going with this quick little fart in the wind. Oh, by the way, here's your Mad Marauders. They look like this, and people didn't receive it. Maybe they might go with that because they're like, hey, we've already taken the risk and it hasn't paid off, and why not? Or they might really go with it, be like, hey, maybe this will redeem what we did. Who knows? I'm not sure, guys, where that's going to lead. I'm just saying, as a marketing thing, it's something that's happened in the Joe history. So they could go back and say, well, it's happened in Joe history, therefore it can happen here now. It's all on the table. You know that Emily and Lenny have said nothing's too ridiculous, no premise is off the board kind of deal. So yeah, that is that. Mustafa. What else did I talk about? The other justifications for this. So I talked about how I got a snow job on the way from Hasbro. Yeah, I ordered that. Yeah, I'm going to make a fire team partner for this guy. That was the last part of this before I end this video for part 2 of the Shadow Tracker here. Is The other reason I needed an Arctic Cobra figure was because I have the Arctic Bat. And I only managed to get one, and I never managed to get any kind of other troop builder to go with it in the Arctic themes. So it's been a little problem on my displaying as far as symmetry, balance, and let's just call it OCD. It's presented itself as a little bit of a sore spot for me. And you can see, sorry, I'm doing a different, like I said, there's a different cam. I'm just letting the figure tell me and letting my hand just wander. And if I don't like it, I'll correct it from there. But if I like it, I'm just going to keep going across it. But yeah, I wanted another winter thing to go with my bat. Now what I'm thinking is, because I only have the one bat, maybe I'll get some snow serpents in the retro line when they come out. Maybe. I might just do a little touch up to my bat. Do a little small custom thing to it to make my bat a little bit more individualistic and make it clear that it is actually the Arctic Shadow Tracker's fire team partner. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of a good little buddy cop duo there. The guy who hates guns, won't use guns, uses everything else. And then the android that just lives off tech and is like, why are you being so primitive? Why was I programmed to feel pain? Things like that, right? So that's something that I don't think I'll do a video about it. I think one day you'll just see my bat standing next to however this turns out. But the bat will have some unique feature, maybe a little bit of black and yellow added to it to call it, kind of like Shadow Tracker pissing on his leg like a dog, saying this one's mine. We'll add a little black and yellow or something like that, right? So yeah, okay, I got all that done. Want to make sure that I covered off. Why else did I say that? I talked about the camo. Oh yeah, the other reason I'm trying these two different camo sets, guys, isn't just to be like, oh, Shadow Tracker's just ad hocing kit. Specifically, reason why is because when I get my V2 Stalker, he's gonna have some camouflage to him. I don't want that one to be my first attempt. What I would really want to do is add some camouflage woodland type to the V2 Stalker. Feel free and confident in doing that, and also possibly do that kayak in its woodland camo as opposed to the Arctic Tundra, right? That would be my crow twist to the V2, because I think Hasbro is going to do a V2 at some point. And that's where I go with it, right? So that's, I think, all I want to talk about today, guys. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me while I amuse myself rambling and trying to simultaneously paint. It was nice to get some of the more redundant and monotonous tasks of basing out of the way with it. And I'm pretty excited about the kit loadout. I hope you guys see what I'm seeing as far as the potential for it, and that it makes sense with the Shadow Tracker character, and that I'm not missing the mark here. That's the big thing. If I really miss the mark on a character as far as the vibe, would they, could they, does that make sense and things like that, I don't mind hearing about it, guys. It's just sometimes you'll see, I know a lot of people don't listen to the video or fast forward or skim through it. Sometimes you'll hear in the theoretical work, there's a specific reason why I might choose to miss the mark on purpose, and that's all. With Shadow Tracker, I'm just trying to put the mark in a different geographical location, and that's about it, all right? He's not specifically an end state idea. He's more of just a diverse Joe idea. So that's where we're going to go. I also am working on my Joe character on there. This Lady J backpack came up as an item that somebody was curious about whether I was doing something with it. And unfortunately, I have to tell them, yes, I very much am. It is going to go with my Lifeline character. And you'll see the customs I do on that later. We'll have some more conversions going for you. When the Jody Shooter gets here, I'll give you a review on that. When Snow Job gets here, I'll give you a review on that. You'll see me playing around with more conversions and everything like that, and expect more figures this week at least. Hopefully, I think you'll at least expect one soon. But probably more than that. You know me, this is my retirement. This is my hobby. It's not a business. I'm not trying to sell you up. I just want to have fun with Joe with you, right? Like we used to every Saturday when we were kids. Gather up your Joes, go to someone's house and play. That's what it feels like. That's what it is. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon. Yo, Joe. And now you know. Bye. Bye.